And we're back on day number two, trying to get this Le Mans track back up and running, get a little bit faster time. We learned the track a little bit yesterday, and with some luck, that's stuck with us. We're trying to at least shave a few seconds off. Yesterday, we'd only had actually a handful of laps. That was including the races that we had, 3 laps per race. I think we maybe had 3 races. Um, so, hello to new subscribers and old subscribers. We have just passed the 50 subscriber mark. Well, not just, but maybe a week ago. So, we're pretty much, we took a little break after we hit 50. It's been about 5 or 6 months in the working. So, a little bit of a break, a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a reassess, and then we can come back at it. It was quite a good break, because there was bad habits coming into play. There was just, yeah, you do something too much. The the appreciation for doing it right can just sort of fade away. So I'm glad I did take the week long break. But we are back, and what better to come back with than a Le Mans 24 hours? Le Mans, come on. And it's in the Valkyrie. That's the Martin Valkyrie. Very hard to control for myself, but for people that usually drive said cars, they'll be completely comfortable with it. So I'm going to finish getting set up. A couple of minutes, we'll be able to get the stream started, see how we do. I could just see somebody actually just started watching there, so hello to you as well. We have a couple of minutes, and I will return. So whilst we're waiting, there's a couple of people that were put in. Well, they weren't actually put in for the hoodie giveaway, but the whole hoodie thing had collapsed in on itself, and I decided to go with a different provider. But nonetheless, there will be a couple of giveaways coming up soon as well. It's only for subscribers, unfortunately. It's not trying to be sort of like cornered off, but I don't want to take it up to a point and then just say, do you know what? I'm going to take this ability away from you. I would like just to, keep it based on who's watching. There's not one part of what we do that is anywhere near the best in the world. But what it is another opinion, another line, another thought. Maybe even just in your spare time. I know that I like to watch racing in my spare time, and to be honest, I can kind of see why. Because sometimes you racing is one thing, but if I have a bad day on the racing, I know I like to go and watch one of my other favourite YouTubers, like Super GT, for example. Jimmy Broadbent does Sim Racing Stewards. That's another amazing thing that I used to watch a lot of the time. I still do as well. I still watch it, but just not as much. Not as much. See, for practice, for again, it's a different opinion. Their their driving lines are night and day compared to mine. So I get a lot of my stuff from that as well. There's a replay, an option to watch everybody's replay in the world, and from that you can grasp. If you're in the cockpit view during the replay, you can switch about. So it means that you've got the revs, you've got the gear you're in, when you're turning, how much you're turning because you can see the wheel. Everything that you need to know essentially is just given to you. Then you just need to put a little bit of work in and try and and try and tweak it to your own sort of thing, and you'll see a lot of people are too proud to have a look at other people replays, anything like that, and folk are just like, I want to just get it down myself, and that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. It does, however, it adds in, maybe if you spend so long getting a good lap down, you spend so long on, well, pretty much just your lap in a hole. Um, After you've done all that, to then go and watch the replay of maybe like 15th in the world, and then be like, oh, I've been doing it all wrong. I'm gonna have to change everything. It's If you're watching a replay, it's almost like, right, I've watched it. We can put a bookmark in it. I can do the first few corners, make life easier for myself, and then continue to progress like that way. But each to their own. At the end of the day, that's just something that helps me, and I think it might help somebody else if they need it. So, hello, welcome to the stream. That was my insurance to make sure that people know it is going to start soon and not just a car flying past the screen for hours on end. So, We'll take a quick look at the driver rating. Driver rating sitting. We're back into C. After an absolutely catastrophic few weeks, we're back into driver rating C. And it doesn't mean an awful lot. However, getting into driver rating B, I found out personally, the contact just increases like 200%. Your sportsmanship rating will go down. I didn't even realize my sportsmanship rating was actually at sportsmanship rating A instead of S. We've pretty much prided ourselves on the fact that we've had a sportsmanship rating of S since the start. We did break into driver rating B for about a week, not that long ago, which was fun whilst it lasted, but all good things must come to an end, unfortunately. A couple of extra followers on here as well. Happy days. To be quite fair, like I didn't expect it to reach the 50 subs back when I started. It was mainly just something that I enjoyed doing, that I would like to put up, not for any gain. And then there was a little bit of interest, and since then things have just went 150 miles an hour. Hence the week break once we reached the 50 subs mark. There is an issue with the microphone, so there won't be much talking during the racing, which might be better for focus anyway. I can still see the comments and the messages coming up at the right hand side, so if you're fancying chucking in a bit of help, because God knows I could use it sometimes as well, then feel free to do so up there. Next race is when? 14 minutes. Yeah, we could get a warm up in that time. We went from 1,500th to 2,800th in a night. Great. Am I still? Yeah, slightly faster. Oh, Mr. Holder. How are you doing, pal? I just seen your message come up there in the top right. I hope you're all right. How did work go last night? I know you were working a late one, or you were starting work at 10 o'clock. Or were you finished at 10? I couldn't remember which way around it was. Well, I hope you had a good day, a good night at work. Yeah, good. I'm glad. I'm glad night shift isn't a lot of people's best friends. I'll tell you that for free. Okay, qualified, finished it. Yeah, I see. I didn't know which way around I had it. If it was 10 that you started or 10 that you finished, but I'm glad that it was all right. I'm glad it was all good, pal. Qualifying time trial for the time being. Let's just try and get ourselves comfortable with the track again. Yesterday was our first time on the track, so we can maybe cut the time down a little bit more. So hello to everyone that just started watching. I'm just going to take this opportunity, once my car calms down a little bit, I'm going to take the opportunity to explain what's going on here. There is a race in 8 minutes and a half. We've already had three races yesterday. Had a good few practice laps, but we're trying to cut the time down now because, there's a lot of time. Usually you'll have like 1/100th of a second or, between times, but with this it's like tenths of a second in between positions. So there's a lot of playroom, especially a lot of playroom to be able to get our nose into a position, world ranking wise, or at least try to. So There's one thing I certainly know for sure. We need to get our act together for that last corner, well, the third last corner, that little third last section, because I haven't had a clean one yet, and the race is in a minute. So, I mean, that's happening. We got decent enough time. I think there's only one other of my friends that have got a time on this 3:25. And what I was saying earlier on about the fact that they're very split up is there's number one, there's number two at 3:11.1, then 3:11.7, 3:12.1, 3:12.3, 3:12.5, 3:12.7. Everything's split like that rather than tenths of a second, which to me just means there's a lot of wiggle room. I haven't tried any of the other races just yet, my man, but I mean, I really just wanted to try and get into this one, and I wasn't sure what car it was going to be, but I was also like not sure. I was completely oblivious as to what the Aston Martin Valkyrie was. Maybe that's just me being out of the loop, but you know, it is what it is. However, starting to drive the car, learning to drive the car. We had our crashes last night. That was the practice. But of course, we're trying. We did set that lap as well. Before we went into any races, we set the lap prior to going into any more. That was like at the end of the stream last night. I'd done another lap just to try and get things moving a little bit up the ranking, and I ended up taking a good bit off. Yeah, Mr. Holder, it is indeed a good starting position, and for multiple reasons, I'll give you two. One, I hate being in the middle of the pack, and two, I really hate being in the middle of the pack. They're your options. And I just had to say as well, did you notice the driver rating? The driver rating's back at driver rating, so also exciting times for us, you know? Well, nonetheless, here we go. Wish me the best of luck. There's only 12 cars in this as well. Only 12 cars instead of 16. Well, it could have been very eventful, but I mean, to be honest, we can't complain at that. Pole position finished. Mr. Holder called it first. Good though. I thoroughly enjoy it. I do enjoy the track. The car was the hardest part to try and grasp, but back in driver rating C, there's one bonus. The fact we're seeing driver rating B, I'm not too sure if that's possibly down to the fact that we're closer to sportsmanship rating B than we are, to S. But it could also be this person that's got this has just a better. No, Brands Hatch. That's what you were talking about. Was the track that you like to go around. 3 laps isn't bad. Let's be honest. 3:24 though, having a best time of 3:24. The top is like 3:11, so we're still pretty far off. But I feel like we handled the race a lot better than we did yesterday, or last night, should I say. What I am going to do is I'm going to put a little replay on of who we're going to go for. There we go. We'll go for SRT McClay. A different person, different replay than what I watched yesterday. It's a different way of doing it. See if I'm doing anything differently. I had to cut that short. I just realised that we might actually miss the time if we were to. Is it a 20 past the entry? 2 minutes 40 left on it, yeah. Just as well we remembered that. Okay, we didn't set a new time, did we? I totally thought we did. Totally thought we did. I've not had a look at the data logger for this actually. So if anybody's not familiar with what this is, essentially what it does is, well, I'll show you. It's better if I just show you. It's exactly what it says. It's logs data from your lap, but down the bottom left you've got what I assume is where your acceleration's going. But the squiggly lines are your braking, straight lines your acceleration, and the dotted line is your coasting between gears, or if you just sort of let go of everything. Speeds up the top right, brake and go. And this way you can tell where the car is. Usually this is a little triangle, but I changed the icon beforehand. The fact this is a big track, I didn't actually think about the fact that two of the straights pretty much make up like half of the track, or like a third. I would say probably a third to be honest, but if you wanted to go that way about it, you could go that way about it, try and see what is what. View 2, steering angle, revs, throttle, revs per minute down the bottom right. Tells you when they go on and off of the throttle. And then view 3 is, what's that? I suppose it's the gears. Yeah, that's the gears. You can see there's quite a short gear range there, at least picking up. And then when you're at full speed, it's like the arrow shows you just there. You're pretty much straight back down. As soon as you start braking, you're straight back down your gears. That is a close gear range. I didn't realize just how close it was. Starting a bit further back, a couple of seconds back. Not bad at all. Get the formalities out the way as per usual. There's one thing that does keep catching me out, and I don't know if it catches anyone else out, but there's a certain part of the track gives you like a half a second penalty for missing the track. You get a penalty for it, but I have still to find out where this place actually is. Still to figure out where it is that I need to be doing what I'm doing. I'm a beginner. What's this person? I'm a beginner. Fly to the front. Again, round 2. Nice man. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you have a good race. I mean, it's been good for me so far, so I hope it's just as good for yourself. Yeah, you too, pal. You too. Who's going to say it? Because I'm going to say it first. Absolutely catastrophic last lap. I don't know what happened there. Not a clue. Still getting used to that weight, the transfer of weight over the middle section of the car, in between corners, like, or conjoining corners. Fair play though to yourself. Where was it that you finished? And how was the race for you? Because for me it was okay. It was a crash fest, was it? Oh man. Well, see, typically is, man. Typically is sixth. Ah, I see you there. I see you there. It was a crash fest. I do apologise if I had done anything to crash into you. To be honest, I spun out at the start. I think. Well, there was a bit of contact at the start, and so I'd had to recover. But then I got somehow all the way back up to third, first at one point. But fair play to the couple up ahead. You know, very just quick. They're just quick, good at what they do. Nonetheless, no, you were flying after 3 turns. Man, come on. Honestly, like that bit of contact as well was totally my fault. I went flying into a corner. I didn't realise that it hard broken middle of a corner. Suppose that's on me. But you know, it's such an easy thing to do. You don't know whether or not it was meant to send you off the track, or I should watch my speed going into them. Very good race. Quite happy with that. Six isn't bad either, man. Like yesterday, the races weren't going the best for me. I did get a couple of good finishes, but this car's tricky to drive, such high speeds. Yeah, man. No, you said it. You said it, man. High speeds in that car, they just, I don't know, it just doesn't work. But it's a very fine line. Um, but if you're subscribed or that, man, like you'll get an update when I'm next on. You should jump in and say hello. But if not, I will sure see you around at some point. I'm sure we'll pass each other in the lobbies. Yep, rent event specified. Perfect. I think we're ready to go. Gotta go the ethanol silver with that little touch of orange. Okay, let's try and get a lap in. Let's try and set a new fast lap. To answer your question, my friend, I am on a wheel and pedals. Well, I'm on a sim rig, which just makes it all that much harder. But I'm getting used to it. I'm getting used to it. I have had it for a little while, but there was a point in time where I just didn't go on it for a while, so I got a little bit rusty with it. But nonetheless, we can't complain.